Hello, good evening. It's 5 p.m. Welcome to 505. For coming up tonight, reckless, false, fanciful fishing. That's how Gold Board CEO Kwame Jnr is describing the minority leaders' Gold Board loss allegations.
Look at the depth and the substance of these personalities. When they rose to speak on Parliament, look at the command they commanded across the aisle. And look at how this seat has now been so bastardized and depraved by a noisemaker who cannot even read and research and get his facts right. So,
well, he says Kwame Okyere is spouting palm wine bar talk as he dares him to bring on parliamentary probe.
I will go to prison in his brain, and I will have onerous bill terms in his brain. I'm not afraid of any intimidating tactics because we are serving Ghana in good conscience, and our resource and posterity will speak.
Also coming up tonight, unemployed graduates with disabilities demand government action over exclusion from public sector recruitment.
When the GES was doing their recruitment, we gave them a list of about 200 people, and they ignored that list and did not even employ one of them.
Also tonight, Minister for Roads and Highways reviews government has injected more than 223 billion Ghana cedis into payment to road contractors, challenging them to let the results show by the end of next year.
Government is committed, as I said earlier. Government has paid over 23 billion so far on roads, and the bulk of that is arrears.
And later this evening, passengers stranded in Kumasi as Santase drivers suspend operations over 1 Ghana cedi fare increase. And in business tonight,
producer inflation rises to 4% in July 2026. We have more at 5:50.
We have these and more stories plus some interesting analysis to do. Stay with us. And this bulletin is coming to you live from our studios here. Digital address at Geo042358 North Laboni. Third Daddy Walk on Class 91.3 FM in Accra. We also live on Ho FM 92.5, Hills 91.7 at Daklu, both in the Volta region. Max Empire 96.9 at Bazwa in the Upper East region. Dagon FM 102.5 in Tamale Radio Park 96 in Spain. We're live on Facebook. Connect with us or join us with a thoughts, comment, and contributions with a hashtag 505. Alternatively, through our WhatsApp number 0500,000. 202. My name is Kwame Okyere Jnr. It's time. It's 505. Welcome. Well, 505 is always brought to you by MTN everywhere you go. Now to the very first story. The Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Gold Board, Kwame Jnr, has launched an attack on the minority leader, Alexander Kwame Okyere Jnr, dismissing threats of prosecution and describing the position's criticism as a fanciful effusion of palm wine bar. The dispute stems from an International Monetary Fund (IMF) report indicating that the Bank of Ghana's domestic gold purchase program recorded losses exceeding 1.7 billion US dollars, equivalent to about 1.5% of Ghana's GDP. Speaking at the government's accountability series today, Wednesday, August 19, 2026, Kwame Jnr rejected claims that Gold Board had incurred losses of 1.7 billion US dollars in its gold trading operations in 2025. Kwame Jnr described the minority leader's allegation as barefaced lies and insisted that Gold Board's audited financial statements show a different picture entirely. Mr. Jnr has challenged Kwame Okyere to formally invite him before Parliament over the allegations. Listen.
Every buying agent. These are express prescriptions of the principle captured in a signed contract that predates the Gold Board. A buying agent cannot vary agreed terms in a written contract without consequences. Kwame Okyere should tell Ghanaians at what price an exchange rate was gold bought by buying agents such as PMMC and RSFI. And I'm going to publish that tomorrow. They were buying gold at exchange rates as high as 17 Ghana cedis in 2024. So when you agents were buying gold at 17 Ghana cedis to the dollar, because you had so mismanaged the economy that at some point you needed 16, 17 cedis to get a dollar. And that is the exchange rate at which you were buying gold. You are saying that PMMC was causing losses for the Bank of Ghana. The Bank of Ghana designed under the domestic gold purchase program that because they were in crisis and they needed foreign exchange, they will buy gold at the exchange rate. That gold has been bought since we started mining gold over a century ago. This is not the creation of Gold Board, which was established in April 2025. Then the fourth claim under this new theory that, Gold Board has not made losses, but Gold Board is responsible for losses made by Bank of Ghana. They say that the reported domestic gold purchase program losses stems from Gold Board's trade model, and that the program was implemented through the Gold Board in 2025. So Gold Board is responsible. Ladies and gentlemen, although the Gold Board was established in April 2025, it was not until March 2026 that it commenced the implementation of its trade model envisaged under the Gold Board Act. This is because the Gold Board received its revolving seed capital budgeted for it in the 2025 budget as late as 30th December 2025. Also, the Gold Board had to put in place the necessary institutional measures and systems before takeoff. The trade model implemented by the Bank of Ghana in the year 2025, which the IMF has reported on, was evidently the domestic gold purchase program model. When did the domestic gold purchase program become Gold Board's trade model? And how can the domestic gold purchase program that the MPP in the past have given the credit, to Bawumia for, be said to be arising, losses under that program be said to be arising from a Gold Board model, when the Gold Board model only started in March 2026? Because it's not facing any onerous bail terms. And how can Sami Jemfi, under whose tenure the Gold Board has exported 170 tons of gold through former channels and brought into this country over 17 billion United States dollars in 1.5 years, face onerous bail terms? Under your tenure, not a gram of gold produced in Ghana was refined in Ghana. Today, over 9 metric tons just this year of gold we have bought refined in Ghana. We are changing the value addition story. So you see, such statements are reckless. They are what I call the fanciful efficiencies of a palm wine bar. You take it as comic relief. And it is very sad. You see, when we say this, he says we are insulting. We are not insulting him. This is somebody occupying a seat once occupied by the Venerable G.H. Mensah, the Venerable Papa Uzu Ankoma, or Seiche Mensah Bonsu. Look at the depth and the substance of these personalities. When they rose to speak on Parliament, look at the command they commanded across the aisle. And look at how this seat has now been so bastardized and depraved by a noisemaker who cannot even read and research and get his facts right. So I will go to prison in his brain, and I will have onerous bail terms in his brain. I'm not afraid of any intimidating tactics, because we are serving Ghana in good conscience, and our resource and posterity will speak for us. Thank you very much.
So that's the Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Gold Board, lawyer Sami Jemfi there. We'll go on the phone line shortly, but let's listen to the minority leader and also the Member of Parliament for Futuna Central Region, Osahin Alexander Kwame Okyere yesterday during that press conference.
By the fund's own numbers, the Bank of Ghana's equity stood at negative 93.8 billion cedis at the end of last year, negative 6.7% of GDP. Our central bank is technically bankrupt, therefore. And the single biggest driver of that collapse in the 2025 was gold operations, Gold Board. Gold Board's own domain, 22 billion cedis. That's equivalent of the 1.7 billion US dollars in 1 year alone. Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, let's call it what it is. These losses are not bad luck. You don't trade in gold and make losses. They are not a difficult market. They expose the crass incompetence of Gold Board's management and misaligned policy of the government. No serious institution loses this much money by accident. This is what happens when an untouchable few are handed the nation's gold with no one watching and no one willing to ask questions. Ghanaians have already sacrificed much to keep this economy standing. We tighten our belt for the sake of stability. That is why it is so painful to watch this scheme quietly give away sums that will make any right-thinking citizens weep. We did not endure hardship so that billions could vanish into unexplained spread and unnamed off-takers. Let us be honest about what $1.7 billion actually means. It is hospitals that will not be built. It is needless maternal death that would not be prevented because the theaters, the blood banks, and the trained hands that could have saved a mother in labor were never funded. It is schools that will not be built. It is poor roads that will not be constructed. Roads that claim life every week. It is water treatment facilities that will not be constructed, even as our people's water is poisoned by galamsey this government has failed to control. Every one of these is Ghanaian life diminished by a loss that does not have to happen. Gold Board must tell Ghanaians the following. 1. What prices were paid for gold? How were those prices determined? What premiums, if any, were paid to secure the supply? How were international off-takers selected? At what discounts were Dog Gold sold? How much was earned by Gold Board in service and asset charges from transactions financed by Bank of Ghana? What commercial risk did Gold Board itself bear? What transactional risk were passed automatically to Bank of Ghana? What internal risk controls existed to protect the financier, the Bank of Ghana? What corrective measures were taken as losses accumulated? And most importantly, if Gold Board controlled critical part of the trading process, but Bank of Ghana absorbed losses, where precisely did commercial accountability reside? These questions aforementioned go to the heart of the very matter we have raised. So, a business model where entity earns fees and another absorbs losses requires scrutiny. In fact, it stinks. It stinks. The structure deserves particular attention because it creates what economists and governance professionals will recognize as a potential moral hazard problem. If an institution earns transaction-based income for purchasing, assaying, and aggregating gold, while the financier bears the underlying trading losses, then increasing transaction volumes may increase the agent revenue even where the overall program destroys value for the principal. Any responsible government confronted with this 22 billion loss should immediately investigate whether the incentive structure encouraged excessive volumes, inadequate pricing discipline, or insufficient attention to trading costs. But what the Gold Board chief executive has forgotten is that when initially the fees were around 15%, and the minority raised the first red flag, and the press conference was held by our respected colleague Opon Kruma.
So that's the minority leader, MP for Futu, Alexander Penemakin, speaking yesterday during that press conference. I'll share a motion filed by the minority in Parliament shortly with you. But let me speak with the Member of Parliament for Sanarigu and also the Member of the Finance Committee in Parliament, Ataisa. Honorable, good evening to you. I'm grateful for your time on 505.
Good evening to you and to your listeners.
Great. You have previously argued that the $1.7 billion figure cited in the IMF report represents an accounting treatment rather than actual cash losses to the states. Can you break down this to our listeners? What exactly does that mean, and why is that distinction important?
Okay, let me say good evening to your listeners once again, especially to the good people of Sanarigu. I have been very consistent since the audited financial statement of the Bank of Ghana and the Gold Board was published earlier part of this year. I was very categorical that the idea of recognizing exchange differentials and other revaluation account details do not constitute operational costs of any entity. And I've been very consistent with that. And what I'm trying to say is that if you read the IMF issue paper that was released on 5th August. They were very clear on that, and in fact, they agreed with the proposition that I've always maintained. And with your permission, I'll just reference the paragraph 13.
Very well.
For the emphasis of your listeners. This is what the IMF had to say. The IMF approximately 1.67 billion estimate should be understood in its proper context. It represents an analytical assessment of economic costs associated with the program and incorporates factors such as service and assay costs, discounts, trading outcome, and exchange rate differentials. It should therefore not be treated as equivalent to an audited corporate loss recorded by the entities. The 2025 audited financial statement and the IMF selected issue paper analysis apply different measurement and reporting approaches. The audited financial statement reflects established accounting and financial reporting framework, while the IMF analysis adopts a broader economic methodology. The resulting figures are therefore not directly comparable. A transparent reconciliation of the methodologies, periods, and components underlining the different estimates will provide a more useful basis for assessment. This is exactly what I said 2 months ago, and the IMF has come to confirm that. I have always maintained that the methodologies or the cost methodologies adopted by the IMF and that of the Gold Board and Bank of Ghana are materially different, and it will be like comparing apples to oranges. The Bank of Ghana, through its audited financial statement, published a 9 billion Ghana cedis loss. That is the loss which is consistent with the Bank of Ghana's Act, which is consistent with the reporting standard by the IFRS, which is also consistent with the Public Financial Management Act procedure. So on what grounds are we supposed to be saying that we have to necessarily impose a different cost approach to that of the Bank of Ghana and create a contradiction between what is being reported by the IMF and that of the Gold Board and the Bank of Ghana? The IMF is saying that don't do that comparison because they are all using different cost methodologies. And I'll give you an example. If you remember in 2018, when the MPP published its financial outcomes, they stated what we call below the line and above the line reporting of public debt, if you remember.
Yeah.
It was below the line, and the items that were below the line included the energy sector debt, the financial sector cleanup, and COVID-related expenditure, if you remember.
Yeah.
This was the time that the IMF added cumulatively all central government debt plus SOE's debt. The majority or the MPP in regime then justified by saying that they were doing it having cognizance of our own reporting regimes. So what has changed? So yes, as a government, we are concerned as to how we can mitigate all those exposures that has been imposed on the books of Bank of Ghana. But it will interest you to note, look, this same architecture, the risk exposure to Bank of Ghana and PMMC started way back 2021. The same arrangement, nothing has changed. What has changed significantly is the quantum of gold that has been purchased. And I will demonstrate that in a GIFI. If you also look at page 4, this is what the IMF had to say. The financial performance of the domestic gold purchase program should be considered within its full period of operation and institutional development, rather than through the lens of a single year entity. In 2022, the total estimated loss attributable to the domestic gold purchase program was 74.44 million United States Ghana cedis. In 2023, it rose from 74 million Ghana cedis to 1.3 billion Ghana cedis. In 2024, it rose to 5.66 billion Ghana cedis under the same broadness loss classification mechanism that we are using. And then the IMF validated the 5.66 that was reported by the government of Ghana and said that the actual estimated program loss stood at approximately $400 million US. What I'm trying to basically say is that nothing has changed. What has just changed is the renaming of PMMC to Gold Board. Also, what has changed is also because we are buying more gold. Because if you look at the total tonnage of gold that was purchased in 2024, it amounted to 56.7 tons. But if you look at what has been purchased in 2025, you realize that we moved the total gold tonnage from 56 210 tons of gold. And then if you look at the amount that we got in reserves, for out of the 56 that we bought and sold, we realized $4 billion. But from selling 110 tonnage of gold, we made about 13 billion, let me put it that way, 13 billion United States dollars. So on what grounds are we saying that the government of Ghana is being reckless, as been described by the minority, and creating an unnecessary situation that does not exist? In fact, today I was listening to the Gold Board CEO, and he was very emphatic. If you look at the 4 items that the World Bank has attributed to the $1.6 billion cost, look at what the IMF had to say. The IMF said that the IMF identified financial costs associated with the domestic gold purchase program, particularly in relation to artisanal and small-scale mining. These costs are substantial and warrant careful consideration as part of broader transparent assessment of the program. And this is where they came to say. They are saying that what determines the $1.67 billion has to do with one, service and accessories cost. Let's ask ourselves, what was the service and accessories cost in 2021 to 2024? It was the same amount of 0.258% of the total volumes of gold exported. It is being paid out because of the accessories fees and services. What was the payment that was given as service fees to PMMC under the MPP regime? It was 0.5%. Under NDC, we have negotiated it to about 0.25. What has changed? And I beg to ask this question. If it was something, if the Gold Board is supposed to be charged for causing financial loss to this country, who should be held responsible for the 1.37 billion loss in 2023? Who should be held responsible for the 5.66 billion Ghana cedis loss in 2025? In fact, who should be held responsible for the 74.4 million Ghana cedis in 2022? Let's be serious as a country.
Per the explanations given now as a member of the Finance Committee and the detailed explanation given by the Gold Board CEO, it means that it cannot be said that Gold Board has been or is hiding behind the Bank of Ghana to mask the Bank of Ghana's losses, as indicated by the minority in Parliament. But clearly, the minority has made the first attempt to hold the Gold Board CEO before Parliament, that they say didn't materialize because of the intervention of the now former majority leader. He has indicated clearly that he wants to face Parliament. Would you or would the Finance Committee support the parliamentary probe into Gold Board's operation by bringing him before Parliament, probably to answer questions directly in the faces of the minority?
You see, I wouldn't have any issue that has to do with Parliament playing its oversight responsibility on state agencies. I wouldn't have an issue with that. However, the difficulties I have with the minority call is the propaganda and the mischief that is laced with such a call. If you remember, such similar call was made in the past, and we were very clear. Number one, there are available parliamentary tools that the minority can use to elicit the needed answers that they want. Number one, they can either hold the CEO of the Gold Board to appear before the Public Accounts Committee.
Okay.
Interestingly, do you know who is the chair of the Public Accounts Committee? Is the minority, which is Honorable Abna Ose Asari. She is the chairperson of the committee. The second issue too is that they can even do an urgent question, filing an urgent question through the speaker, and then the speaker will summon the CEO of the Gold Board. The third issue too is that they can use the Finance Committee. They can also use the Economic Committee to summon the Gold Board to come and answer questions. So if you know all these parliamentary tools are available for you, why the rush in going to the press conference? Earlier today, I said that the characterization I see clearly is that the MPP continuous attack on the Gold Board is like an attack on a hen that lays the golden eggs. They know the role of the Gold Board in stabilizing the city. They know the role of the gold board in making sure that there is liquidity in the forex market. And look, in 2021, when the domestic gold purchase program was introduced, it was introduced with two basic components: gold for reserves and gold for oil. The gold for reserve was trying to achieve stability of our exchange. And then the gold for oil was supposed to, one, ensure adequate supply of fuel, and also make sure that there's stability in the price at export price of fuel. None of these stated objectives was materialized by the end of 2024. We still had our cedi depreciating by 19%. We still had inflation around 23.8%. We still had unemployment around 14.7%. We still had our economy being described as junk economy. We were still knocked out of the capital market. Ghana was still described as a country with significant fiscal slippages. In 1 year, in 2025, as a result of the gold board, let's look at the stated objectives of the program. We are seeing stability of our exchange. Until the recent war in Iran, there was some level of stability in the cost of fuel, and there's adequate supply of fuel in our country. Unemployment has decreased by up to 13%. Also, according to the multi-poverty dimension, we are also seeing that the number of people that has left the poverty bracket is about 800,000 Ghanaians. So if you look at the policy measure vis-a-vis its stated objective, the NDC government has achieved its stated objective. Also, on that ground, on what grounds are we even calling for that type of probe? But like I said, I am not against any aspect of saying that we will not tolerate the minority. There are stakeholders that are helping in shaping this democracy. But I will err on caution that I see this whole call to be a red herring and always trying to be in the media. And let me finalize my discussion. I just want to reference what specifically the IMF said, where they are doing pick and choose. If you are reading an IMF report, I think that it is important for you to read the report holistically. Look at what the IMF said on paragraph 13 of the 2026 IMF selected issue paper. It says that the DGPP operates generated significant losses for BOG. That's number one. It attributes the losses to a combination of service and affairs fees paid to gold board, discounts on goods sold to off-takers or exporters, and most importantly, exchange-rate losses arising from the spread between the rate used to acquire the gold and the cedi reference rate used for BOG. Now they proceeded by saying, which is also significant for me, this is what they after saying that the loss must be recognized, this is what the World Bank said. The World Bank current Ghana counter-assessment records that strong gold exports supported the 2025 current account surplus, increase our reserve to more than 5.7 months of import cover, and strengthen the cedi. The Ministry of Finance reports gross reserve of about $13.8 billion as at the end of 2025, up from equivalent to 4 months of import cover in 2024. These are material gains. And they now said that though the government of Ghana must recognize through the Ghana program in trying to mitigate the impact of those fees and charges. And like I said, under the Ghana program, from June this year, the Bank of Ghana has ceded completely the financing of gold purchase program to the gold board. So in 2026, the total losses that you saw, the negative equity losses that you saw, and the operating losses of Bank of Ghana will come down because we have shifted the burden to the gold board. And it is not shifting it and leaving them to do their own thing. There is now a perfect arrangement through the budgetary allocation that will be given to the gold board by the Ministry of Finance, and then the off-taker arrangement where the financing will be sourced from the off-takers directly and then purchase the gold. Then the Bank of Ghana will now be managing the forex operations of the gold board. So if you look at these things, there are already steps being taken. But I see that there is always characterization on the personality of Sammy Gyamfi, and I think that is it is below the belt. They are just trying to be the average version of Sammy Gyamfi in opposition because he was always on their feet to demand accountability. But in doing so, you must do it with honesty and candor, and you must always be ready to subject yourself to fair tests, litmus tests when honesty and truth is brought up against you.
Very honorable, thank you so much for your time this evening. So that's Atta Issa, who is a member of Parliament for Sanarigo, and also a member on the Finance Committee in Parliament. Let me stay on the line and speak with the Executive Director of African Institute of Strategic Studies, a senior lecturer at the University of Cape Coast, and a political analyst, Dr. Jonathan Asante-Akyere. Doc, I'm grateful for your time and your patience on the line. Hello, Doc, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yes.
I'm also grateful.
Yes, great. So there was an allegation by the minority. There has been a response or clarity or answers from the CEO for Gold Board. In terms of accountability, does this settle the matter, or there's more to do?
Well, let me say good evening to your good self and to your listeners. I listened at length the what's it called, the press conference or government accountability series that was led by the CEO, and I listened to him, at length. I think that he has really acquitted himself. What he has sought to do is to bring some kind of clarity to the issues. I think that the question rather should go to Bank of Ghana, and they should do their own explanation. What I see in the whole brouhaha is the fact that we are looking at two state institutions. They have brought a lot of good with this particular program. But we are looking at two different things. One, domestic gold purchase program and gold board. So that extension must be made. And so that even explains why, under the same program, when PMMC was still in existence, they still made losses in 2024. And so you will see that the cost of those losses have not changed. But what I am thinking is that now that the Bank of Ghana is no longer going to, as it were, provide that equity or some sort of financing for Gold Board, that is where we are going to see whether indeed the architecture, the grand organogram of the Gold Board, its design, its organization, is going to yield the kind of profit that we've seen. I mean, for an institution that is not even 2 years, to be able to make over 900 million cedis profit, a net, surplus of 5.4, because obviously the finance ministry, as it were, gave some kind of equity, I think over 4.something billion or so for 8 operations and other things. So they did not even touch that kind of money that was given. So I think that perhaps the minority is very much interested in that area because a lot of money has been passing through that particular state institution, and I think that is good. But the narrative will have to change, especially if I see that the target is Sami Gyamfi himself. I think that does not in any way create, a healthy opposition on the part of the opposition itself. It makes it appear so petty, and it's like you have the fact, yet you are churning out your own fact. I don't think that thing in any way will inure to the benefit of the opposition. I was equally taken aback with some of the diction that Mr. Sami Gyamfi used against the minority leader. Some of us have described the minority leader as lacking, emotional intelligence, but that is not to suggest the kind of, vituperative words that he used against the minority leader. I mean, the presser was beautifully done. He showed that he was on top of his brief. He had absolute control. I think that he may equally have to check, his emotions when it comes to things of that nature. Sometimes I read his body language, and it tells me that, well, if you see his body language, it meant that he was a little angry, and he had to control that anger. Other than that, the effusion that will come will not really augur well for that particular program. That said, once you are in government, you are a CEO. You are not communicating to what's the name, Mr. Afenyamarket. No, you are communicating to the entirety of the nation and elsewhere or beyond the country. So you don't have to, because I mean, you yourself have been very critical. You were very critical of previous government. He himself said that he is not averse to this kind of criticism. But I mean, to appear like that person, that is, it's as if the press conference or the accountability series was done for Mr. Afenyamarket. I think his name was mentioned one too many. That in itself was not that good. This thing, you are clearing the air. You are clearing the air for the entirety of Ghanaians. And so, particularizing that particular name in itself was defective as far as the, express conference was concerned.
I see.
And then, of course, he's made it loud and clear. And I think that he really educated Ghanaians today.
How do you see this playing out? Would there be parliamentary probe? If there is, who comes out looking better, Sammy Jemfi or the minority leader here?
I foresee Sammy Jemfi coming out better. But you see, when it comes to a parliamentary probe, if you are not careful, it will become a political banter.
Exactly.
And then the real substance will be lost. Mr. Afenyamarket, they've said yes. They are now relying on IMF, on the IMF report. He has dared them to show exactly which sentence, which paragraph, which punctuation mark where Gold Board is mentioned as a source of the loss. The only place the name is mentioned is for fees. So fees ought to be paid for services rendered. And that is something that has been approved. It is 0.5 or something of that sort. It has been approved. How does that become the burden of the Gold Board? I think that the Bank of Ghana will rather, want to say one word or two with respect to those losses. If the domestic gold purchase program ought to be, re-engineered, I think that will help. There is no way that you will buy gold at the forex rate, convert it, do your calculation in the Ghanaian cedi, and then, as it were, use Bank of Ghana rate. Who pays for that particular shortfall? So it is an accounting loss. And it has always been the case. In this country, in the Fourth Republic, you have Bank of Ghana rate with respect to the dollar, and then you have the forex rate. And then you also have Aboti having the dollars. So we have three pricing mechanisms in this country. This has been here, time immemorial. So if we think that that is the source of the problem, I think we need to tackle that. That is where Mr. Sammy Jemfi's press, brilliant delivery, falls short of. He's and falls short of because he's not in a position to solve that particular problem. How does he reconcile that particular shortfall? It is not within his remit. So why is it not the case, or why should it not be the case that the forest rate will be the same as Bank of Ghana rate? That is where the lacuna lies. Who is going to solve this particular mystery? It has been an age-old problem, decades.
I see.
That is where the problem lies. You see, and it's not as if somebody has bought gold and sold it, at a cheaper, or, some re-engineering did not, go well and somebody is making those losses. I don't think that is the case. And we are not fair to each other. This problem has been there President Rawlings' time, it has been there President Kufuor's time, it has been there President Mills's, President Mahama, it has been there President Akufo-Addo. It is still there in the time of President Mahama in second term. So the mischief, I think that is where the opposition is being mischievous. And that is where they really want to slander the name of Mr. Sammy Jemfi. But that being said, we all know the role that Mr. Sammy Jemfi did in terms of research and other things in making the NPP very unpopular in so many ways. I don't want to think that this is not a matter of transparency that you are calling for. This is not, I don't want to think that this is not a matter of, the right thing being done by the current government, but rather going for the head of Mrs. Abenyefi. There are others who are equally on the neck of the current government.
Mm-hmm.
If should there be a change, should we or should the nation also go after such individuals? I don't think that is the case.
Very well.
You just have to ensure that the right things are done. But I like the position that they are equally throwing out there. In actual fact, it is putting government on its toes to ensure that the right things are done. But ordinary Ghanaians, we are equally reading in between the lines to see whether it is out of mischief or out of sincere protection of the Ghanaian, the ordinary Ghanaian, and an ordinary taxpayer. If that is not the case, then obviously that type of politicking is very negative and it will not see the light of day.
I see. Doc, I'm grateful for your time this evening. So that's Dr. Jonathan Asante Okyere, who's a senior lecturer with the University of Cape Coast and also a political analyst. I told you about a motion under Order 127. The applicant, Kojo Ponkroma, the MP for Fwasa Yebi, a ranking member on the Committee on Economy, Honorable Twenebo Akodua Fuku, also MP for Manson Kwanta, Jerry Ahmed, MP for Weja Gbawe, and second Deputy Minority Whip, Vincent Ekwasifwa, MP for Otafu, and then Dr. Fred Teya Samwa, MP for Finson North. The accept of the motion says that this Honorable House, pursuant to Article 103 of the 1992 Constitution and the Standing Orders 204, 212, 213, 262, and 263, has moved to establish an ad hoc committee to investigate the Gold for Reserve scheme, including its design, implementation, governance, financial performance, environmental and public health implications, and any related matters. That the purpose of the said ad hoc committee shall be to inquire into the inter alia, the reported foreign exchange losses sustained by the Bank of Ghana in connection with the scheme, the roles of relevant state institutions, the integrity of supply chain due diligence and traceability systems, the risk of acquisition of illegally sourced gold, and issues of accountability arising therefrom. The last one, that accompanying this notice of motion is a substantive motion setting out the composition, powers, terms of reference, reporting timelines, interim measures, and implementation framework of the proposed ad hoc committee. So that's the motion to the Speaker of Parliament, and of course I've given you the names of the applicant behind this motion. This is 505 on Class 91.3 FM in Accra, across the country and across the world on classfm9.com. Let me have your messages on 0500,202. Also live on Facebook, Class 91.3.
Hello?
Charlie, I'm at the library. Why do you keep calling me?
Wait, question. What's the capital of Burkina Faso?
Ouagadougou. Bye.
Wait. Which planet is the hottest in the solar system?
Venus. Charlie, why all these questions?
See, I'm playing the MTN Swipe and Win promo. I might cash out some cool 1,000 Ghana cedis today.
Hey! 1,000 cedis! Charlie, what's the next question?
Join the MTN Swipe and Win promo today. Answer trivia, earn points, and stand a chance to win 1,000 Ghana cedis every day. Weekly cash of 1,000, 2,000, or 3,000 Ghana cedis. A brand new Hyundai Texan in the first 3 months, and the ultimate grand prize of 500,000 Ghana cedis. Recharge your account to qualify for the daily draws. To join, visit swipeandwinpromo.mtn.com.gh. Download the My MTN app or dial *5030#. This promo is regulated by the NLA on the Caritas Lottery platform. TNCs apply.
MTN.
Go day, say a party, mini me a chomo, crunchy, chilling with friends, mini me a chomo, take chuck your hunger, mini me a chomo, crunchy, break time please, mini me a chomo, tasty, mini me a chomo, mini me a chomo, mini me a chomo, come and taste the fun, mini me a chomo, mini me a chomo, mini me a chomo, come and taste the fun. For
advert is FDA approved.
Well, some 46 minutes after 5 here on Class 91.3 FM in Accra, across the country and across the world on classfmline.com. Two other stories. The coalition of unemployed graduates with disabilities are demanding urgent government action over what it describes as a failure to implement the 5% public sector recruitment quota for persons with disabilities. The group says it submitted the names of 200 qualified graduates with disabilities for the recent Ghana Education Service recruitment exercise, but none of them was selected. The graduates today picketed at Jubilee House to submit a petition to government accusing the authorities of ignoring their concerns despite several appeals. They say the situation is unfair, particularly because they have the qualifications and are only asking for opportunity to work and contribute to national development. The coalition is therefore calling on government to honor its commitments to the 5% quota and ensure that qualified persons with disabilities are given fair access to public sector recruitment. Let me speak with the convener of the coalition of the unemployed graduates with disabilities, the person of Gilbert Kwame Okyere Jnr. Gilbert, let me thank you for time on 505. So you say you submitted 200 qualified graduates with disabilities for the recent recruitment. What happened to those applications? Were you given any reasons for ignoring your applications?
Yeah, please, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Please, if you can repeat your question.
No problem. I'm asking that you said you submitted 200 qualified graduates with disabilities to for the recent recruitment by the Ghana Education Service, and I'm asking that what happened to those applications? Were you given reasons why you were not given the opportunity to work?
So those 200 people were not actually considered by the Ghana Education Service. So that actually led to our decision to take it today.
I see. Very well. But let me also welcome Bismarck Amo. He's the secretary to the Advocacy Committee of the Ghana Federation of Disability Organizations. Bismarck, let me welcome you onto the program as well.
Thank you. Good evening.
Great.
Good evening to your listeners.
Very well. I'll come back to you shortly. Gilbert, let me stay with you. How did you arrive at the claim that the 5% public sector recruitment quota for persons with disability was not implemented?
Your line is a bit jet. I don't know.
Gilbert, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Great. I'm asking that how did you arrive at the claim that 5% of the public sector recruitment quota for your association as person with disability was not implemented?
So how did we arrive at the 5% quota?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you very much. I think this was a clear promise given by the president. Even when in opposition, he said giving the nod by Ghanaians, he would ensure that all public sector recruitment processes would, feature this 5% quota for persons with disability. This simply means that if, let's say, Ghana Education Service is employing 7,000 people as they did, the 5% calculation, if anyone is good in mathematics, that would be 350 people. And the list that we submitted, the people were not even up to the 200. Just that we have run it up to the 200 people. I think if I should quote the figure correctly, that was around 175 people. And out of that 7,000 people that we are expecting at least the 5% quota directive by the president to work, the 175 people we submitted, we concluded that since it was not even up to the 5%, it should be automatic for those 175 people to go through. And as I keep hammering on, these are not people who are being employed on sympathetic grounds. They are people with the requisite qualifications that the Ghana Education Service requires. The most important thing is the licensure, and they have the license to be teachers. So we were actually astounded why the Ghana Education Service could do 7,000 recruitment without employing even a figure, one person, from the list that we submitted to them.
When you got to Jubilee House, Dr. Samiaya, presidential staffer, was asked to receive the petition. Was there any assurance given to you from the office of the presidency?
Are you asking about the reason for which we did not submit our petition to Dr. Samoaye?
I know that he was the one to receive the petition. You didn't give him the. You didn't give him the.
We took a bold decision that we are not going to give him the petition.
Why?
Because we thought that he was below the belt with respect to the people who were looking forward to take the.
How do you say, and why do you say that he's below the belt? He's a presidential staffer.
So let me justify that.
Do that for me.
I have told you point blank.
Mm-hmm.
When we came here the first time, somewhere around 24th March, when we embarked on our demonstration,
mm-hmm.
Honorable Shamima Muslim, who is the deputy spokesperson for government, actually came for the petition. Right after we kept, she was the liaison officer between us and government.
Okay.
We kept, calling her. At a point, we realized that she was helpless because she didn't have the capacity to cause any change. Mm. And the fact that somebody takes, a petition, even though there is it symbolizes that the person is taking the petition in her capacity as a representative of the president. But in reality, if you don't get someone who can cause a change to speak to before your petition is submitted, after submitting the petition, everything goes to a doldrum. Nothing happens.
I see.
So we were very sure when we were coming, we had only one mission, and we were very optimistic about it. That when we come, and we do not meet the president, hear from the president, the vice president, or the chief of staff, we were not going to leave the premises, and we were very clear about it, and we kept to it.
I see.
So we stayed there. When Dr. Samoaye came, we made him understand that no disrespect to him, we don't even know him, and we are not interested in knowing him. But the fact that we are not getting the people we want to get, we are not handing over the petition to him. And truth be told, when we stayed, after he left, we stayed there for a while before the president himself actually, went through someone to speak to us. And the petition was submitted to the Honorable Nanaya Jnr.
But I see.
For us,
I see. So
we are successful.
Very well. The Nanaya Jnr that you mentioned is also a presidential staffer, just like Samiaye.
We understand, but a word came before. Jesus came before the rest of the people. So
I see.
We understand that, as I said, there was a word that came from the president himself. And that was the intervention that we were looking for. So had it not been that intervention, Nanaya Jnr herself wouldn't have had the petition.
I see. Very well. So what next after the presentation of this petition? Were you given any assurance? What next for you?
We are going to cope with the office of the president, because the president himself has given us the audience to speak to us that the Honorable Nanaya Jnr be the liaison officer between us and him, with respect to how a meeting could be convened. And that is what we are going to look forward to doing. Because in the few days ahead, there's going to be a meeting between us and the president himself. That's the assurance.
Okay.
And you know what? As I said, if that meeting does not come off, or there is any failure with respect to the president fulfilling his own pledge given to us, which we have also respected, for which reason we have left, we will definitely resume. We will definitely come back to the Jubilee House. And coming back to the Jubilee House is not a concerted effort. We can always come.
I see. Gilbert, let me thank you for your time. Great. Gilbert, let me thank you for your time this evening. So that's Gilbert, who is he's the convener. Gilbert Boateng Jari is the convener for the Coalition of Unemployed Graduates with Disabilities. I have so I have Bismarck. Sorry for keeping you waiting on the line. So you heard the convener for the graduate with disabilities. Let me have quick on your reactions to that, and what your advocacy committee would also do to ensure that these persons do get a listening ear.
Okay, so thank you very much, and good evening once again to your listeners and viewers on the social media platforms you have. So Gilbert and team are so much aware that we've been working along with them. While they are doing this, we are also engaging the duty bearers, like the ministry, like the Ghana Education Service, to ensure that persons with disabilities who rightfully qualify for employment gain employment, and also fulfill President's commitment to allocating 5% employment quota for persons with disabilities. Their action today, we are fully aware. We've given them our word, and the feedback is given now. We are yet to meet with the team, that's Gilbert and his team, to get that feedback officially from them, and then we also devise a strategy as a committee and as organizations of persons with disabilities from there. So until we have that meeting, I cannot communicate the position of the committee as it stands now until we have that meeting. But I must say that we are in full support of whatever they are doing. We using the our structures to engage duty bearers to ensure that their needs are being met or addressed.
Okay, I see. Bismarck, let me thank you so much for your time. We'll keep an eye on this development. That's Bismarck Amo, who is the secretary to the advocacy committee of Ghana Federation of Disability Organizations and Disability Inclusion Advisory. This is 505 on Class 91.3. It's time for business. Nanaji Prempe is here.
And in business, the producer price inflation for July 2026 has increased to 4%, signaling a moderate strengthening of price pressures at the factory gate after easing to 3.5% in June. The State Housing Company Limited has signed a Memorandum of Understanding MOU with Absa Bank to expand access to mortgage financing. Speaking at the signing ceremony earlier today, the Managing Director of the State Housing Company Limited says it is targeting house prices between 25 and 40% lower than competing properties as part of efforts to make home ownership more affordable.
Building houses today are catering to that top 5%, and that is where the biggest opportunity lies for anybody looking to make a significant dent in this deficit. And so we have a philosophy or a policy around how we develop projects. So we're looking, at a bottom-up approach where we identify a location and we decide or figure out who is buying houses in this area and what are houses selling for in this area. And we try to come in around the 25 to 40% price differential between us and the competition. And we believe this helps us maintain affordability and not compromise on quality. Because people want to be able to afford the house, but they want a house that will last them a lifetime.
You heard Edward Nate Boche, who is the managing director of the State Housing Company Limited. International front, U.S. President Donald Trump said he would delay imposing new tariffs on a wide array of Canadian goods for 3 days as the countries firm up a trade deal. According to President Trump, talks have been held with Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney, who spoke twice this week after trade negotiators engaged the White House. And that's it for business. Back to you, QJ.
Thank you, Nanajima Prempe, for bringing us business. Eben from Kwabena says, good evening, 505. No gendarme of the MPP and the micro-minority leader would be allowed to see the light of day this time around at all. I know Appointment Marking deserve what Goldboard CEO Sami Jemfi did to him this morning. Okay, thank you for your message. Atichu in Tema says, God bless you, Sami Jemfi, and long live Goldboard. Okay, all the messages, in fact, are on Goldboard. So thank you for all the messages on Goldboard. I'm grateful that you share those thoughts with us on our WhatsApp number 0500,202. It's time for me to leave and hand over to Mr. Mauto, who will drive you home safely. Of course, with his able team, Esther, Missy Hamba, and the rest, will drive you smoothly to your various homes. On behalf of my team, I'm grateful for your time in the last 60 minutes. My name is Kwame Okyere Jnr. A pleasure coming your way with 505. I'll do the same time tomorrow at 5 p.m. Good evening, good night.